Right. Today we have the idea of the great expectation, but as you are used to already, I will start with a story. This is a kind of a phenomenon that I've seen here in this area in South Florida more than in the north, up north. And this is a social worker that went to study this phenomenon. This phenomenon is about the people who hang out in the stoplight corners asking for money with different kind of signs. And this story, the social worker was going to find out how things were going for these people with different kind of stories. So she went to the first, and well, he was asking for food, and the idea is just finding out how they were doing. So she asked, and this man says, "Oh, not well at all. I just can't survive." And she asked again, "And do you get enough?" "Oh, not at all. I never get enough, not even to feed myself and my family through the day." And she just took notes and went to the second one. And also, in this case, this was this homeless man that was begging for food. And you notice some of them, or most of them, put "God bless" at the end, just as positive reinforcement that they should do something. Well, the social worker asked, "Okay, how's it going for you?" And he said, "Not well." "Do you have enough to survive?" And the man says, "No, not at all." So she went to a third man, and this third man was kind of happy, or she couldn't tell. So she asked the man, "Okay, how are things going with you?" And the man says, "Pretty good." "Okay, you get enough to survive?" "Oh yes, I get enough." "And what about your family?" "Well, I'm making payments in my house, but it belongs to the bank, but I'm making my mortgage payment every month, and of course we have enough food on the table. I'm sending my kids to school. My wife doesn't need to work, so she's a stay-at-home mom and just takes care of the kids. And I'm here in this corner 11 months a year, and then, the rest just not too bad. We spend a month of vacation, and then I come back." And the social worker was stunned. "Wow, that's great. I will put this because this is not common in my study. But can I put your name down?" And the man said, "Sure. I'm Mandrake, the magician." I don't know if you remember, this was a cartoon from the 1930s.
We're not as old as you, Pat.
What's that?
We're not as old as you.
Well, the idea is there was great expectations from the social workers to find out, and of course, the man was not telling the truth, but of course he just made the story about having everything he wanted. Well, there were great expectations in the case of Naaman, in the book of second book of Kings. And this is a very well-known story, but we're going to go over the story. And this is about the kingdom of Aram. Aram is kind of a modern Syria. And if you remember, Abraham was the son of a wandering Aramean. So Aram is the region that today belongs to Syria. And he had a problem with leprosy. And a servant girl, a servant girl that was a slave of the wife of Naaman, was there. And she told her mistress, if my Lord will go to Israel, there's a prophet there that can heal him. And that was very disturbing because it was a lot of shame in not being able to show himself. And this kind is like the story of the lepers in the New Testament, in the gospel for today. They were not allowed to live close to the people. They were not allowed to join society. They were always at a distance. So she talked to her mistress and said, there's a great prophet in Israel. And notice a prophet is not one who predicts the future, as we normally say prophecy. A prophet is someone who speaks in the name of God. Nabiim. So this story was very dear to the mistress, so she spoke with her husband and told him to go to Israel. And the king of Aram, gave him a letter to be sent to the king of Israel. Here I need to go to the Bible. For some reason, there were 3 verses cut from today's reading. And I think those verses are important. Our reading ends in verse 4. But so Naaman went in and told his Lord about what the girl from the land of Israel has said. And verse 5. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." He went taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which the king read, and with this letter which you know that I have sent to you, my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy. Wow. Just to get an idea, these are sworn enemies, the Arameans and the Jews in Israel. This will be like, Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, sent a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu and said, "Hey, cure this man." What? It was ridiculous. But he sent this letter. So suddenly, after reading his letter, the king of Israel tore his clothes. And in doing that, it was a sign of grieving, because he thought, he's like this let it read says today, there's going to be a war here. He's trying to pick a war because I cannot cure leprosy. But Elisha, the prophet of the Lord, heard about this. And so he was instructing the king that let him come to me. So Naaman went to the house of Elisha, and he presented himself with all his soldiers and all his the caravan he was carrying with him. But Elisha didn't come out, not even make any friendly gestures. She just sent the servant to meet Naaman and told him, "Okay, go and bathe, immerse yourself 7 times in the river." So he had great expectation. He was expecting this magician to come out and with a magic wand and go over this portion of his skin that had leprosy, and did a lot of, I don't know, mumbo jumbo just to cure him. But he didn't even come out. He was so disappointed. So he was so disappointed because he said, "Aren't the rivers of Syria, Damascus, better than all the rivers in Israel, like Abana and Pharpar? Those are great rivers. Why do I have to go into a dirty river like this one here, the Jordan River?" And he was so upset. But some of his soldiers or servants said, "Lord, if the prophet would have asked you about doing something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it?" And he said, "Yes." "Well, he's asking you for something very simple. Try to see how it works." Well, he looked at the river Jordan and decided, "Should I go?" And he said, "Yes, should I go?" And he immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan River, and he was clean. His leprosy just disappeared. He was made clean again. Leprosy in those days were similar to what AIDS is today, something that has a lot of stigma in society. And people look down on those who have leprosy. And so the chief of the army of Syria, of Aram, was made clean by a Jewish prophet. So he was made clean and was very, very pleased. And so he went back to Elisha, trying to give Elisha all the gift that he had, the 10 talents of silver and the gold and the garments and gift after gift. And Elisha said, no, nothing is needed. I'm glad you are okay, but you don't need to give anything. And this is an interesting declaration for a Syrian. He says, now I know, Naaman said, I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Quite a statement. So Naaman had great expectations. He was thinking about the healing, but with a lot of ceremony, with a lot of movement, with the respect the chief of the army should receive, and a lot of expectation about what should happen. Nothing like that happened. But in the final result, that he was healed. So, how did God deliver the healing? God delivered the healing in an unexpected manner. God delivered him and provided with a gracious healing that is truly a miracle. Truly a miracle. That in those days only could have done it people like Elisha. But the point here is, we, like ourselves, we sometimes have expectations, like Naaman, that things should go one way without knowing what God is expecting us to do ourselves, to surrender to His will. So the question is, our great expectation and God's miracle happen in a way that so many times we never expect. Some things that come our way are even much better than anything that we expected. And those things that we want, they come many, many times through unexpected means. Ways that we will never suspect that could happen. In this case, healing was something that he had expectations, but not the way God did it. So, how our expectations make us suffer? When we do not get the things that we want in the way that we want, then we suffer. And most of our suffering comes because of our expectations. We expect people to behave in a certain way. We want people to treat us in a certain way. We want things to happen in a certain way. And frankly, we are not responsible for what other people do. But we expect them. And because we have all this expectation, we suffer. And so the idea is understanding that God's grace comes in many different ways. The means of God's grace, the way that God shows us grace, is many times things that we will never expect. And even if it may look different, they are something that God provides with His grace, with His love, that go beyond anything we can expect. So, to end this off, keep calm and expect miracles. And let God make those miracles. Be aware those miracles happen in God's time and in the way God wants. Amen.